DC4, resolution to provide direction to the city administrator on the provision of solid waste services, moved by Councilmember Eaton, seconded by Councilman Kalasapathy. Discussion, please, of DC4. Councilmember Eaton.
Thank you. I'm bringing this forward because I believe that there are two main problems with the administrator's decision to privatize the public services provided by the solid waste department. First, I believe that privatization-like issues are policy issues that actually should be discussed and determined by council, not by administrative staff. And we weren't informed of this this goal or this aim in advance, and it was rather surprising to me to find out that this happened. Earlier this year, we voted to approve a $250,000 consulting contract to devise a solid waste plan, which typically is formulated by a volunteer citizens board, but this year we're spending a lot of money to do it through a consultant. And within days after we approved that plan and that contract, city administrative staff sat down with the union representing solid waste workers and informed them that there was an intention to privatize this work by January of 2019. The consulting contract is supposed to take 12 to 15 months. And before it even began, we set off on a course to eliminate bargaining unit work and contract it out to a private company. It's important to understand what privatization really is. It's taking public jobs and bidding it out to a low bidder who will use private employees who are typically paid considerably less than a union public sector worker to provide, hopefully, the same sort of work. I believe that privatization of our services is contrary to our community values. We spend a lot of time here talking about affordability. And one aspect of affordability is making a livable wage so that you can live in the community that you serve. I want to note that a lot of AFSCME members have turned out tonight because this is probably shouldn't do that. Because this is a concern to them. This is their livelihood. This is their brother and sister members' livelihood that we're talking about. The way that a private corporation attempts to save money in providing public services is by paying lower wages. We have to just simply admit that. And that attacks core values that I think that most of us on council respect. I don't understand how any progressive Democrat can support the privatization of public services unless we as an entity don't have the skill set to provide those services. So there are some specialized matters that we do contract out. But this is pretty fundamental, everyday rank and file work, and it doesn't need to be privatized. And so I would hope that we would at least not privatize these jobs while we are studying what we're going to do in the totality under our new solid waste plan. So I hope you'll support this. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilor Eaton.
Administrator Lazarus, did you announce to the local union that you intended to subcontract this work by January of 2019?
I personally have had two conversations. One is with staff down at the Wheeler Center probably well over a year ago, informing them that we were going to look at alternate means and evaluate them. At that time, we were also provide the assurance that no current city employees would be displaced. And then we had a meeting with union representatives a couple months ago where I think I reiterated the same perspective.
So you didn't tell the local union that you intended to contract all this work out by January of 2019?
I personally have not told them that. I met with the union leadership a couple months ago and stated that no decision had been made and we were going to look at the options that we had.
So, thank you. I want to point out that much of the solid waste services that we're providing right now are being performed by temporary employees. And if you keep track of A2 Fix-It tickets, you'll notice a lot of them in recent time have been about missed trash pickup. And this is because we have temporary employees who are unfamiliar with the equipment that they're using and the routes that they're driving and just the general work requirements, and we're not providing good service. And so if we continue to employ temporaries to avoid hiring a permanent AFSCME represented employee, we're going to continue to have these problems providing these services. So I really think that we need to express our values, which is that we can do this internally as cheaply as externally, and that we want our consultant to understand that we would prefer to do it internally with the staff or the kind of staff that we've been using traditionally. I think that if you look backwards, the cost of having AFSCME members do our trash pickup is probably cheaper than contracting out the recycle pickup to Recycle Ann Arbor. We are very competitive in-house. It's not like we're frittering away money or we're limiting the possibilities. The job of driving the truck around and dumping the basket in the back of a truck can be performed in-house or outside of our employment pretty much equally. It's not inconceivable that we could contract with a provider for our MRF services and still have all of our collection done by our own employees. So I don't really think that this ties anybody's hands. Rather, it recognizes the basic fundamental value of having a good workforce that makes a decent living and is represented and has due process in the workplace. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilman Graham. Councilman Reeton.
Thank you. During the break, I was speaking with some of the union representatives, and the whereas clause that I had included in this that stated that the city administrator and other staff had met with the local and announced the subcontracting of this work. I was incorrect in my statement there. The city administrator himself was not at that meeting. Other administrative staff was there. And so I want to offer my apology to the city administrator for making that claim that he was in that meeting and made that representation. I apologize.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
Councilmember Kalasapathy?
Yes.
Councilmember Bannister?
Yes.
Councilmember Westfall?
No.
Councilmember Lum?
No.
Councilmember Grand?
Yes.
Councilmember Ackerman?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
No.
Councilmember Eaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Crapo?
Yes.
Councilmember Warpahowski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
DS1.